Welcome back to the grind. In this video, we are going to discuss the legendary sorcerers of the Eldritch tier. Now, those will be Galatia and Vex Ax. Now, for Galatia, this is a legendary earth sorcerer. Not sure why it's not an ice sorcerer, but you will be breeding this by using Cerebrith and Bilge. I think this dragon is very well designed. I like the way it looks, and the spells are pretty interesting too. So the first one is Crystallize, a white active 0 rage spell that will freeze all nearby towers for 4 seconds and damage them for 12% of the dragon's modified HP, after which the towers will take 150% bonus damage after being frozen. But this can only be used one time. The next spell is Fracture, a white active 1 rage spell that deals 2500% of the dragon's attack power as damage to all towers in a target area with only a 2-second cooldown. So this is a white death gaze spell that costs only 1 rage and only has a 2-second cooldown. So this is going to be a very important spell for this dragon, and probably even on a short island could be used up to 3 times. And next, Galatia has Spell Weaving, which is a passive spell that, depending on what tower you destroy, you will gain one of these 3 abilities. And each time you gain one of these abilities, you will also gain 1 rage in return. So you can use Fracture with 1 rage to destroy a tower and then gain one of these abilities, giving back that rage, allowing you to use 1 rage to use the ability. Unfortunately, at this time, I do not have the information on which towers will grant which abilities. So these 3 are, one of them is Crystal Tomb, which is an active red spell that costs 1 rage that will freeze towers for 2.5 seconds and deal 8% of the dragon's modified HP. And then the dragon will gain an 8% shield for each tower that was frozen. But remember, this is a red spell, so you will have to make sure that there are no red mages ahead when you are going to get this spell. The next spell is Prismatic Lights, and this is an active 1 rage white spell that makes the dragon invincible for 3 seconds, and then after the shield ends, will mark towers in range, and when those towers are destroyed, the dragon will gain back 10% HP. For this spell, you want to make sure there are no ice, flax, or cannon towers in range with a super shot. And lastly, we have Reflection, which is a 1 rage active red spell that reflects projectiles back at the towers, and those reflected projectiles will deal 100% increased damage. Now, this one, you'll want to make sure there's no red mage as well, so that the reflected shots will do damage to the towers. You can still use it when there's a red mage around, and that would protect you from the damage. So that is a potential use if you can't get the red mage down. And finally, Galatia will also have a dark flak resist. So I actually think this dragon might be pretty good. It has a way to destroy or deal high damage to a tower, which should destroy towers at equal tiers. And that's a white spell only costing 1 rage. And it has a short cooldown, only 2 seconds, so you can use it pretty frequently, which is amazing. And then Spell Weaving, all 3 of those spells are essentially ways to decrease damage that you take, which is very important for pretty much all dragons. And then one of them will help deal more damage to the towers, the other will help you heal some health back after, and then the Crystal Tomb to me seems pretty awesome because it freezes the towers so you take less damage, it does damage when it freezes the towers, and then it provides a shield to you after to help you take less damage. So I think these spells will be pretty interesting, and I'm not certain again how you'll get them based on what towers you destroy, but I think they'll be pretty good. And then, of course, the Dark Flak resist to decrease the damage you take from Dark Flax. And then the Crystallize, the rescue spell that will freeze towers, damage them, and then cause them to take more damage after that. And unfortunately, this one can only be used once, but I think if this could be used more than once, it would be a little bit too strong. So for Galatia, you'd come around the corner, you'd use Fracture to destroy 1 to 2 towers, maybe even 3, who knows. And of course, you want the red mage to be taken out as one of those towers. And then I don't know which spell from Spell Weaving you'll get, but then you can use that one to reduce the damage you take from the shots. And then after not too long, before that spell even ends, you can use Fracture again to destroy another tower. And if you wait till the spell ends, then use Fracture again, then it will give you another Spell Weaving right away. So you could chain on a couple Spell Weavings in a pretty short period to help reduce the damage that you take. So I think this dragon will be pretty fun. I I'm sorry I don't have the information on which towers will give you which spell weaving spells. Unfortunately, I think the reflection one will be the least beneficial because it doesn't reflect flak shots, and most bases have flak shots, so unfortunately that one won't be very useful for most situations. So it'll really come down to what towers give you what spells. Like if the killing the red mage gives you reflection, then you probably don't necessarily want to do that in every situation, even though the red mage is an important one to destroy. If killing the ice flak gives you the invincible shield like Prismatic Lights, then that might be a better one to target first and then go after the red mage second while you have the invincible shield active. So unfortunately, this dragon relies pretty much on which towers give which spells, and hopefully they created it in a way that makes sense to us. Next, we're going to talk about Vex Ax, which is a legendary dark sorcerer that will be bred with Ladron and Bilge, and they will need to be level 16 and level 12. So Vex Ax has Explosive Carapace, which is an active white 1-rage spell. The dragon will gain a shield for 60% of its modified HP, and after 2 seconds, or if the shield is broken, the shield will explode and damage all nearby towers for 26% of the dragon's modified HP, and will have a 4-second cooldown. 26% is a random number, but this will be a good way to decrease the damage that you take and then also help deal a little extra damage. 26% of HP is actually quite a bit, so I think this might actually do a fair amount of damage. The next spell is Sonic Screech, an active red 1-rage spell that will damage nearby towers and reduce their damage by 35% for the rest of the battle. It doesn't say how much it will damage them, but probably not very much. The main benefit is the reduced damage that the towers will deal to you. And then Quake, an active 1-rage white spell that will stun all towers in a radius for 6 seconds and only has a 3-second cooldown. And finally, Summon Drone, an active white 0-rage spell that summons a drone that will have 90% of the dragon's modified HP, but it will not deal any damage. So it's kind of like a shield, but it doesn't look like it has a cooldown. So as soon as it dies, it looks like you can just summon it again. And that's very interesting to me. I'm not sure how that's going to work because based on reading this, it seems mostly like this is just a permanent meat shield that you can have active essentially all the time. But I'm sure that's not the case. We'll have to wait and see how that turns out. So for this dragon, it'll be interesting because you can stun towers pretty frequently. You can debuff towers to they do less damage, and then he has a pretty strong shield, but I don't really see a really good spell to take out critical towers, so that might be challenging. Maybe he'll struggle to destroy towers if especially defended with using hammers and stuff, but it'll be interesting to see this dragon fly. A lot of interesting spells, and I think it'll be a fun one. So I hope to see some footage on this dragon and all the rest. So if you get footage, I would love it if you could share, and otherwise, take care. See you in the next video.